Okay, let's unpack this. If you are preparing for a meeting, trying to decode the comments section on TikTok, or, simply listening to a conversation between people born after the year 2000.
Which is happening more and more.
It really is. You've likely encountered a linguistic landscape that feels like it's being built and torn down at the same time. The speed is it's breakneck.
It's an unprecedented pace of change, really. Our cultural landscape is shifting, and language slang in particular is probably the fastest barometer of that change.
Absolutely.
And, well, that's really our mission here with this deep dive, right? We want to give you, the curious learner, a thorough but a swift shortcut to fluency.
Yeah, a shortcut.
We're trying to move beyond just basic definitions. We really need to analyze not just what these words mean, but the cultural vibe of using them correctly.
The vibe, yes. And maybe more importantly, why they replace the words we used to use.
That's the key.
Exactly. I mean, slang is the heartbeat of modern conversation. It embodies energy. It defines who's in and who's out of a community. And it often carries this heavy dose of irony that you can completely miss if you don't get the context.
You really can.
So we're diving deep into the Zoomer vocabulary, giving you the essential cultural and linguistic knowledge you need to feel, informed and capable in the modern world. This deep dive is structured to guide you from assessing social competence, through defining credibility, navigating emotional states, and finally, handling relationship nuances.
And I think we should begin where modern social assessment often starts, the complex metrics of personal performance and social magneticism.
If we're discussing Gen Z vocabulary, we absolutely have to start with a term that has just dominated the last few years. Rizz.
Have to. There's no other starting point.
It's a term that has completely permeated popular culture, yet its mechanics are, surprisingly complex when you really look at them.
They are. Rizz fundamentally is just an efficient abbreviation of charisma, but its meaning is so much more granular and focused than just general charm.
Right. It's not just charm.
No. When you say someone has Rizz, you are specifically referring to their ability to attract a romantic partner or, their overall smoothness and effortless charm in a flirtatious or even a competitive social setting.
So it's directed.
It's directed. It's about persuasion and this undeniable social attractiveness aimed at a specific goal.
What's so fascinating and something we really have to spend a moment on is the linguistic process here. We often see slang formed by taking the beginning of a word, right? Like for professional or sus for suspicious. We'll get to that one later.
Right, the standard clipping process.
But here they extracted the middle part of charisma, and made a whole new noun. From a purely structural standpoint, why do you think they bypassed the standard way of doing things?
Well, I believe it speaks to this need for distinctiveness and for ownership. If you use a standard clipping like cha or Chris, it lacks punch,
It sounds a bit weak.
It does. The RAZ structure is sharp, it's phonetic, and it was completely unique. This unusual formation helped it feel like organic, internal jargon, like a secret code word for exceptional social competence before it just exploded globally.
It made charisma feel old-fashioned.
Totally. Charisma feels broad and a little dated. Rizz is pointed, it's modern, and it's tied directly to successful flirtation.
It functions almost like a quantifiable social score. You either have it, you don't, or you are actively trying to get it.
Yeah, exactly.
And that leads us to its verbal application. We hear it used as an action to rizz someone up.
Precisely. If Rizz is the inherent quality, rizzing someone up is the active deployment of that charm and strategy.
So it's the doing part.
It's the doing part. It's the flirtatious maneuvering, a confident approach, a perfectly timed joke, or just knowing exactly how to command a conversation. It transforms the trait into a demonstrable skill, but it has to be used with confidence. Any hesitation just invalidates the attempt instantly.
Okay, so if that's the active form, we have to address the advanced concept, which feels like it sets the absolute bar for social competence. Unspoken Rizz. It feels like the highest possible accolade.
Unspoken Rizz is the apex. It really is. It's when a person's social attractiveness and confidence are so potent that they don't have to utter a single strategic word.
Wow.
It implies an inherent aura, kind of gravitational pull. It suggests that their physical presence, their confidence, their style, the totality of their vibe is enough to draw attention and attraction.
So it's often used maybe a little ironically, to describe someone who is just exceptionally good-looking, but also has that air of magnetic self-assurance. It's almost a mythical status then. You can actively work on your Rizz, but unspoken Rizz is something you're born with, or at least you've perfected it to the point where it looks effortless.
And that highlights a huge cultural value, right? It's not just on competence, but on effortless competence. The best performers make it look easy, and that translates directly to social success.
Okay, so if Rizz represents mastery and smooth execution, its conceptual counterpoint, which involves intense, often irrational effort, has to be simping.
Yes, and this word has been on a significant journey.
A huge journey. So simping means you're doing way too much for a person you like, especially if that energy or admiration isn't being reciprocated. For a long time, the term was undeniably negative.
Oh, very negative. It was often used to criticize men for being overly subservient or deferential to women they found attractive, implying a lack of self-respect.
And that historical context of critique is important, but its modern evolution is crucial. That's why it peaked with Gen Z. While the core meaning of excessive admiration is still there, the term has pivoted. It's absorbed this powerful layer of irony and self-deprecation.
I think the shift directly addresses a huge element of modern fan culture, specifically parasocial relationships, which are just so central to the streaming world and social media.
Totally.
When someone says, I am simping for this new singer, or I am such a simp for this fictional character, they're acknowledging the intense, overwhelming nature of their fandom.
But they're also distancing themselves from the stigma through humor.
Exactly. The term becomes a self-aware hyperbole. It transforms from an external, critical judgment into an internal, often celebratory expression of intense devotion. You're not being shamed, you're just being honest about the depth of your devotion, which is often, irrational.
It's a way of saying, I know I'm overreacting, but look how much I love this thing.
Right. And in online communities, intense devotion is often rewarded as loyalty, and simping becomes the linguistic badge of that loyalty.
It allows the speaker to acknowledge the irrationality of their feelings without having to justify them. It's a perfect linguistic tool for the streaming economy, where, excessive reaction and hyper-fandom are often encouraged.
It really is.
The act of labeling your own admiration as simping keeps the tone light and prevents that intense emotion from becoming truly awkward or serious.
It's an interesting defense mechanism. By claiming the term yourself, you strip it of its power to insult you. It's a very smart way to handle intense emotion in a culture that often values emotional detachment or irony.
Okay, so moving from social interactions to performance assessments, Gen Z requires this highly specialized vocabulary to express levels of excellence. It's not enough to just say, good job.
Not anymore, no.
We need the language of perfection. And we have to start with the classic, slay.
Slay is vital, and when we discuss it, we have to put the historical context front and center. While it is a modern staple, meaning you did an amazing job, or you looked incredible, its deep roots lie in the drag ball culture of the 1970s and 80s.
In Black and Latinx LGBTQ plus communities, specifically.
Exactly. This is where language often gets its innovative power, in these marginalized spaces that are focused on impeccable performance, style, and self-expression.
And acknowledging that lineage is so crucial. When someone is told they slay, it's this instantaneous, powerful validation that's rooted in decades of high-stakes performance assessment. It is so efficient that you often see it used as a standalone exclamation in comment sections.
Just the one word.
Just the one word. If you achieve a perfect look or execute a task flawlessly, saying slay communicates everything the person needs to know.
And that energy of flawless execution is refined even further by the concept of a demote, or left no crumbs. These terms are a little more targeted than slay. They really imply completeness.
She ate that, or he left no crumbs. The visualization is key here. The person consumed the task so completely, performed it so perfectly, that there is literally no room for critique or improvement.
It's a total definitive victory in that specific domain. While slay can be about looking good or just succeeding in general, I left no crumbs zeroes in on technical mastery and perfection of execution.
So you could think of it as the difference between a stylish look, which is slay, and a flawless academic paper or an argument that is just logically impenetrable.
That left no crumbs. It signals absolute technical superiority.
The distinction between technical and conceptual mastery is important because it leads us directly to understood the assignment.
This is a nod not just to technical skill, but to intellectual labor and strategic brilliance. Understood the assignment is used when someone goes above and beyond what was expected.
But specifically in adherence to a pre-established concept or theme.
Right, or a highly detailed goal. For example, if a celebrity attends the Met Gala and their outfit perfectly aligns with the esoteric theme of the year, and they provide the necessary level of detail and dedication, the assessment is that they understood the assignment.
It's a term that praises dedication, attention to detail, and conceptual integrity. It's so intensely supportive because it recognizes the effort behind the dedication to the concept.
It's highly positive because it validates the specific effort put into doing the homework. It suggests a degree of respect for the framework they were operating within.
And finally, encompassing all of this excellence, we have the ultimate superlative. GOAT.
GOAT, or greatest of all time. Now, this was certainly not invented by Gen Z. It's been popularized in sports for decades.
Decades, yeah.
But it remains the non-ironic pinnacle compliment. What Gen Z has done is really democratize its use.
Exactly. It's no longer just for world-class athletes or historical figures. You can call your friend the Joet for getting the last table at a crowded restaurant, or for finding the perfect parking spot. While it's deployed pretty liberally, it still carries the weight of being unparalleled in that specific moment or task. It functions as the highest possible praise for micro-level achievements, really validating everyday excellence. That was a pretty exhaustive look at praise. Now let's transition into a different, and you could argue more crucial, linguistic space. The language of verifying information, calling out untruths, establishing credibility in an age just saturated with digital content. This is a vocabulary built for skepticism.
It is, and this section really reveals the anxieties of living in a hyper-recorded, post-truth environment. These terms act as necessary linguistic lie detectors, allowing for a really rapid negotiation of trust.
Okay, so let's start here with cap. The definition is simple. Cap means a lie or an exaggeration.
But the true utility of the term is in its negation.
Right, no cap.
No cap is a phrase that functions as this instantaneous, emphatic statement of absolute sincerity. It means I am being completely serious, or I am telling the absolute truth.
It's become an essential replacement for the slower, more formal declarations like honestly or I swear to you.
It preempts skepticism with unmatched efficiency.
The need for this quick credibility marker is so fascinating. I mean, why do we need a word that instantly guarantees the truth of what you just said? It suggests a default mode of skepticism among listeners.
Precisely. In the digital age, everyone is aware that narratives are easily manufactured, so the speaker needs a fast, culturally recognized mechanism to elevate their statement above all that noise.
So if you have a potentially unbelievable claim like, I got 100 on that impossible exam, no cap, the phrase serves to bolster conviction and seriousness.
It's a tool for rapid trust building in a high-speed communication environment.
But the genius truly lies in the nonverbal shorthand, the blue baseball cap emoji.
This is where language fully embraces digital efficiency. Because cap refers to the headwear, the emoji has been co-opted. When someone posts an outrageous or impossible claim online, maybe bragging about some imaginary achievement, a simple response of the blue cap emoji instantly calls out the lie.
It's universal, it's clear, and it requires zero typing. It communicates definitive disbelief instantly. It's a perfect demonstration of how efficiently nonverbal symbols can become embedded into linguistic syntax.
It's amazing.
Continuing the theme of efficiency and skepticism, we move to sus. We know the origin is pretty clear. The game Among Us, whereas a shortening of suspicious or suspect.
Right. And while the game's cultural peak may have passed, the word has achieved permanent status because of its sheer utility.
It's just so useful.
It is. It's used when something feels a bit off or weird or questionable in a really low-stakes way.
What's important to analyze here is the emotional tone of sus compared to its full form, suspicious. When you say, that's suspicious, it carries this formal, potentially alarming tone.
Right, it feels serious.
When you say that's sus, it feels lighter, slightly playful, and way less accusatory. It allows for a mild, almost affectionate kind of skepticism.
That lighter tone is its secret weapon. It allows the speaker to flag a concern without escalating the tension. If a friend suddenly becomes vague about their plans, calling them sus is way less confrontational than saying they're acting suspiciously.
So the efficiency isn't just about saving syllables.
Not at all. It's about calibrating the emotional intensity of the accusation downwards, which facilitates smoother, more casual communication. It became essential because it was precise, quick, and light.
It's the perfect word for that specific vague feeling of unease when something isn't quite right. And it's a testament to the power of gaming communities to coin and solidify vocabulary that just transcends its original context.
This next phrase perfectly illustrates the hyper-recorded reality of modern life. Caught in 4K.
Let's dissect the metaphor here. 4K refers to high-definition video quality. So to be caught in 4K means someone was caught in a hypocritical act, a mistake, or an outright lie, and the proof is so crystal clear and irrefutable that denial is impossible.
The quality of the video metaphorically guarantees the quality of the evidence. It's the ultimate linguistic checkmate in an online argument.
And the very existence of this phrase acknowledges that the internet leaves a permanent, highly detailed record. We've moved past a time where someone can simply say, "I didn't say that."
Oh, yeah. Now, the expectation is that there is undeniable proof lurking somewhere.
This term has significant cultural weight because it serves as a powerful reminder of digital accountability. When an old social media post or a video clip of a contradictory statement surfaces, it's the modern equivalent of having your hand caught in the cookie jar.
Except the resolution is impeccable.
Exactly. It raises the stakes for every statement made, forcing people to live up to their digital history.
It also demonstrates how technology directly shapes our language. If we were still living in the age of blurry, low-resolution flip phone cameras, the phrase just wouldn't exist.
I would be caught in 240p, which just doesn't have the same punch.
Not at all. It lacks the credibility of 4K. The technology itself provides the basis for the metaphor of truth.
Okay, so having established the vocabulary for competence, praise, and credibility, let's shift our deep dive into the language used to define psychological states, social roles, and the complex landscape of modern identity, which is so often filtered through irony and profound self-awareness.
This section contains some of the most, I think, philosophically interesting terms as they represent coping mechanisms and aspirational goals wrapped in humor.
We begin with delulu. This is the playful, clipped shortening of delusional. It's used to acknowledge an optimistic, perhaps entirely unrealistic desire or belief.
And it comes packaged with its defining self-aware mantra. Delulu is the solulu.
Being delusional is the solution.
Right. This phrase transforms a clinical or critical term into a calculated, necessary mindset for survival in a highly competitive or uncertain world.
I find this fascinating from a psychological perspective. I mean, why embrace the label of delusional? It's largely used in the context of dating, believing a minor interaction will lead to marriage, or achieving these vast, improbable dreams.
I believe it's a necessary form of aspirational coping. When you're facing overwhelming economic uncertainty or immense social pressure, adopting delulu is a mechanism for maintaining optimism.
So if the practical odds are terrible,
Embracing an irrational confidence, the belief that you will be the exception, becomes a mandatory lifestyle choice. It reclaims delusion from being a fault into being a strategy.
it's the linguistic equivalent of manifesting, but with a knowing wink. You're signaling to others that you are aware the odds are low, but you refuse to let that reality deter your ambition. It reframes confidence that borders on unreality as a powerful tool for self-motivation. It's the conscious choice to be the dreamer in the room.
And this mindset of focused, often elevated self-perception leads directly to main character energy.
The definition is simple. Someone acts like they're the protagonist of a movie and everyone else is merely an extra in their scene. But the nuance is everything here, because it can be interpreted as either the highest form of praise or a really sharp critique.
Absolutely. When it's used positively, main character energy describes someone with exceptional confidence, agency, and style. Someone who is charismatic and actively drives the narrative of their own life.
They're proactive, confident, magnetic.
Exactly. But the critique surfaces when that confidence curdles into self-centeredness. It's used to call out those who lack social awareness, who assume the world revolves around their needs, or who are just excessively dramatic.
So the line between being magnetic and being narcissistic is very thin here.
Very thin. The term reflects a deeper generational engagement with narrative structure. Young people are highly versed in cinematic and serialized storytelling, and applying that framework to your personal life is a way of demanding agency.
You're consciously shaping your identity to match a high-performing archetype.
Right. But the community is there to immediately check you if you forget that other people have their own feature films running simultaneously. It's a constant push and pull between self-promotion and social accountability.
Okay, now we enter territory defined almost entirely by meme culture and layers of irony. The Sigma male phenomenon.
Oh boy.
This originated in the reductive, often toxic, social hierarchy categories, alpha, beta, omega, which were never based on actual research.
And this is key. Gen Z took that rigid, often misogynistic framework and just completely satirized it. A sigma is still theoretically associated with being a lone wolf, focused intensely on personal goals, operating outside the traditional social hierarchy of dominance.
But when you hear it now, it is almost always deployed sarcastically.
Always. If someone simply eats lunch alone or wears headphones and ignores the world, they are ironically labeled a sigma.
It's a way of mocking the entire concept of classifying male identity by assigning the label to these mundane or slightly awkward acts of independence.
And the irony is inseparable from the visual context. Sigma behavior is heavily associated with specific music, often emotional, often movie soundtracks, and a particular aesthetic expression. The pouted lips, the squinted eyes, the stoic stare. And since the look itself is difficult to capture in words, it became this massive self-referential meme, effectively defanging the serious, often concerning origins of the lone wolf categorization. The inability to explain the visual just adds to its absurd, surreal mystique.
And this leads us to the deeply niche, yet somehow globally understood companion term, mewing.
Mewing originated as a legitimate, if a bit controversial, tongue posture exercise advocated by certain orthodontists to improve facial structure, specifically the jawline.
It's a physical practice aimed at achieving that sharp, desirable jaw angle that often defines that signal look.
Right, but the word has become slang entirely through nonverbal means. When someone points to their jaw and places a finger over their lips, they are indicating they cannot speak because they are busy concentrating on their mewing.
So it communicates silent, confident self-improvement and high status, often with a heavy dose of irony.
It's a fascinating case study in linguistic evolution. A specialized physical practice transforms into a universally recognized visual shorthand that communicates layers of self-aware aspiration, attractiveness, and ironic stoicism. It shows how a single, specific visual action can substitute for a lengthy verbal explanation across global digital platforms.
To ground these intense identity terms, let's return to simple, elegant verbal tools for internal expression. Low-key and high-key.
These are essential for adding nuance to feelings.
They really are. Low-key means keeping something subtle, quiet, or admitting a minor or hesitant desire. High-key is the direct opposite, being loud, proud, and expressing an undeniable strong feeling or opinion.
Their power lies in their precision. They allow you to calibrate the intensity of your feeling instantly.
Right. If I say, I low-key think pineapple belongs on pizza, I am acknowledging that this is a subtle, maybe controversial opinion that I don't need to fight for. It minimizes the perceived importance of the feeling.
Conversely, I high-key want to take a nap right now states an urgent, immediate, and strong need. These terms are vital in fast-paced text communication because they bypass the need for lengthy qualifiers.
They allow the speaker to negotiate the social impact of their statement. Is this a tentative suggestion or an urgent declaration?
It's a highly efficient emotional gauge.
We are now moving into the, let's say, highly judgmental section of the vocabulary.
Yes.
These terms focus entirely on assessing quality, judging people, products, and situations, and placing heavy emphasis on the overall vibe of the moment.
This is the vocabulary of the critic, and it's driven by a culture that prefers extremes and has very little patience for anything that fails to distinguish itself.
Let's start with a word that sounds dismissive but carries a profound negative weight: mid.
Mid is used to describe something that is just average, mediocre, or underwhelming. You hear people say a new album is mid, or a celebrity's appearance was mid. It's a universal signifier for underwhelming performance.
We need to analyze why this term is considered such a harsh insult. To be bad, to be truly terrible, can still generate passion, controversy, and discussion.
Right, it's interesting.
But to be mid is to be worse than bad. It implies the subject is so boringly middle of the road that it is completely irrelevant.
And that reflects the cultural preference for extremes driven by the content economy. If content isn't excellent, slay, GOE, or hilariously awful, it fails to generate engagement.
So calling something mid is basically condemning it to irrelevance and obscurity.
Yeah.
It is the ultimate dismissal of effort, implying a lack of ambition or distinctiveness.
It's a short, powerful term for the feeling of disappointment that something didn't live up to its promise.
You mentioned the importance of the vibe, and this is absolutely central to modern assessment. A vibe check is the process of assessing the overall mood, atmosphere or immediate emotional resonance of a room, a situation, or a person.
Yes, and if you enter a social setting and your energy is negative or grumpy or disruptive, you have failed the vibe check. The term reinforces the cultural expectation that maintaining a positive, often fun communal atmosphere is paramount. In this environment, your contribution to the collective feeling is constantly being assessed.
And this cultural emphasis on atmosphere transitions directly into the phrase, "it's giving." This is one of the most dynamic and subtext-heavy terms in the entire vocabulary.
It really is. Its giving is used to describe the essence, the feeling, or the implied aesthetic of something. It is a rapid-fire way of making a complex comparison or observation without needing to use comparative phrases like "it resembles" or "it gives off the impression of."
So if someone's wearing a formal, highly tailored outfit, you might look at them and say, "it's giving royalty," or "it's giving dark academia."
Exactly. It relies heavily on the shared understanding of cultural reference points, aesthetic moods, and archetypes. It's a very sophisticated linguistic shortcut for communicating complex aesthetic evaluations.
And the term also works in the negative. If an effort is boring, uninspired, or fails to generate any recognizable feeling, you just say,
It's giving nothing. This dismissal implies a total failure to execute an aesthetic concept, showing how heavily the term relies on subtext and the listener's ability to fill in the comparison.
let's examine the vocabulary used to handle emotional friction, online arguments, and stress. First up, pressed.
Being pressed means being upset, bothered, or overly focused on something, especially something minor. It's a term used to de-escalate or question the proportionality of someone's emotional reaction.
But the usage carries a necessary caution, doesn't it?
It does.
While it can be a genuine attempt to tell someone to calm down, it is often employed as a language policing tool, a way to dismiss someone's valid feelings.
Yes. If you express anger or deep frustration about a genuine injustice, someone might undermine your reaction by asking, "Why are you so pressed?" It suggests your emotional intensity is disproportionate, whether it is or not.
It's a rhetorical technique used to invalidate arguments.
Next, we have a fantastic modern metaphor, rent-free. If something is living in your head rent-free, it means you cannot stop thinking about it.
And this is typically applied to an annoying obsession, a minor point of irritation from an old argument, or a highly catchy song you despise.
The power of the metaphor is its clarity. That unwanted thought or jingle has occupied valuable prime real estate in your mind without paying.
Suggesting an involuntary mental tendency.
Exactly. It's a self-aware acknowledgement of psychological persistence, that the brain has dedicated significant unearned energy to something trivial.
And finally, the specific 21st century directive for detoxification. Touch grass.
This is a harsh yet often necessary insult and reminder. It tells someone that they have been immersed in the digital world for far too long and they need to go outside and reconnect with reality.
It's deployed when someone is pathologically invested in an entirely online conflict like arguing for 10 hours straight about the nuances of a fictional character's backstory.
The term serves as a metacritique of digital over-immersion, reminding the user that the conflicts manufactured in the digital sphere have minimal bearing on the physical world. It emphasizes the perceived sickness of allowing online arguments to displace real-world interaction.
Let's pivot to relationships. Modern dating, fueled by apps and the culture of endless options, has necessitated an entirely new vocabulary to navigate the ambiguities and emotional landscape of contemporary romance.
A whole new dictionary.
The defining relationship status of this generation is arguably the situationship. This describes a romantic and often physically intimate entanglement that just lacks definition.
It's that vague space where you are more than friends, but where both parties have actively avoided having the talk to apply formal labels.
Why has this term become so prominent, do you think? It highlights a cultural preference for deferred commitment.
I think so. The constant presence of options via dating apps means there is often a reluctance to commit to a singular label, leaving relationships suspended in this ambiguous gray area.
And the existence of the term itself confirms a shared cultural experience, the complexity and frequent frustration of being undefined.
A situationship grants the benefits of a relationship, intimacy, companionship, without the accountability or expectations of commitment. The term is a necessary linguistic shorthand for communicating that highly complex, often anxiety-inducing state of relational limbo.
It acknowledges the gap between emotional reality and formal status, which is a major hurdle in modern dating.
And in the process of evaluating partners within these ambiguous relationships, we rely on shorthand warnings. Everyone understands red flags, warning signs, and green flags, positive signs.
Of course.
But the new essential addition is the beige flag.
The beige flag is a brilliant addition for nuanced observation. It's something that is a bit weird or quirky, a notable idiosyncrasy, but it is decidedly not a deal breaker, nor is it a positive virtue. It just is.
It captures those small, idiosyncratic details that make a person unique without signaling danger or virtue. For example, if your date only eats foods that are the color white, or they wear a belt and suspenders simultaneously, that's a beige flag.
It's strange, perhaps, but it has no impact on the relationship's viability or their moral character.
Exactly. The beige flag demonstrates a highly sophisticated level of observational refinement in dating assessment. It allows people to categorize the small peculiarities that define a person without immediately rushing to judgment.
The focus is on notable quirkiness. As our source suggested, someone still using wired headphones in 2024 is simply a beige flag. It's just an odd choice in a wireless world.
Finally, in the realm of personal change and relational exits, we look at transformation and communication breakdown.
A glow-up refers to a major transformation, almost exclusively for the better. This is often physical, a massive improvement in style, fitness, or appearance, but it can also be personal.
It can. A shift from an awkward or unsuccessful phase to one of confidence, maturity, and success. The term is deeply connected to visual social media culture, where transformations are easily documented and celebrated.
The glow-up narrative validates the idea that persistent effort, self-improvement, and self-care can lead to a visible, undeniable positive change. It is an extremely encouraging and supportive term that values personal evolution.
And on the opposite end of the relational spectrum, we have ghosting. This is when someone abruptly stops all communication completely, text, calls, social media, without providing any explanation whatsoever.
And ghosting is universally regarded as a major red flag in dating behavior. Its prominence in the modern vocabulary speaks to the widespread nature of conflict avoidance facilitated by digital communication.
Because it's so easy to disappear online, it has become a pervasive yet highly disrespectful way to end a connection. The term is necessary because the phenomenon is so common.
We wrap up our deep dive with the vocabulary of action, emphasis, and strong emotional and culinary reactions. These are the verbal shortcuts designed for maximizing efficiency and impact in rapid exchanges.
First, two of the most powerful and efficient verbal affirmations: bet and period.
Bet is a common, punchy way to signal enthusiastic agreement, acceptance, or confirmation. It has replaced older, slower forms like sure, okay, or sounds good.
If a friend proposes an intense plan, responding with bet communicates immediate positive commitment. It conveys not just agreement, but enthusiasm and readiness for action. It's an active affirmation.
Then we move to period, spelled with a T at the end. But it's not mere punctuation. It is a definitive verbal stamp of finality.
It is. Period is used at the end of a sentence to add absolute, non-negotiable emphasis, signaling that the statement is definitive and there is no more room for discussion or debate. It's the ultimate full stop.
So if you declare, I am going to get this job, period, you are shutting down any internal or external voice of doubt.
And here we have to, again, emphasize the linguistic roots. Period, like so many of the most vital and pervasive slang terms, originated in AAV African American Vernacular English and was subsequently popularized globally through platforms like social media.
So especially Twitter and TikTok.
Yes. This just highlights the indispensable role AAVE plays as a constant central engine of linguistic innovation that feeds the mainstream lexicon.
Next, 3 dynamic terms focused on information, appetite, and motion. Tea, bussin, and yeet.
Spilling the tea is the perfect metaphor for sharing gossip, dramatic information, or exciting news. The term suggests that the information is hot, satisfying, and must be consumed immediately.
And its visual integration is also highly successful. People frequently use the teapot emoji to ask for updates or the latest scoop on a situation.
Then we have bussin. This is a word used specifically to describe food that is incredible, delicious, or mind-blowingly good.
This taco truck is bussin'.
Right. It is another term with strong AAVE roots that gained massive visibility and diffusion through viral content on platforms like TikTok. And it's important to note the specific application here. While some people try to use bussin' to describe non-food items, a car, an outfit, it almost always feels linguistically incorrect because the term has become so powerfully specialized in the culinary domain.
It has a high linguistic entropy. Trying to apply it too broadly just diminishes its specific power to describe sensory deliciousness.
Perfectly said. Moving to action, we have yeet. This term functions both as an action and an exclamation.
As an action, it means to throw something with a high degree of force and often very little care for the final trajectory.
And as an exclamation, yeet is shouted out in a moment of triumph, often associated with a powerful, aggressive movement. If you execute a perfect shot in basketball or successfully toss a piece of paper into the bin from across the office, the accompanying yeet captures the spirit of aggressive, victorious motion and excitement.
It's a burst of verbal energy tied to a successful, forceful action. Our final pair of terms focuses on the act of showing off and the ironic critique of that action. To flex means to show off wealth, achievements, or desirable possessions, like posting photos of a new sports car or a luxury vacation.
And that term is standard. But the linguistic evolution into the phrase weird flex is where the analysis gets really rich.
It is. Weird flex is used when someone boasts about something that is decidedly not impressive or is outright strange, awkward, or questionable.
It is a brilliantly dry, dismissive response that acknowledges the intent to show off while simultaneously questioning the objective or value of the boast. It manages to deliver a critique without being overly judgmental.
For instance, if someone posts that they managed to successfully avoid showering for a week, or that they haven't paid their parking fines in 5 years.
Neither of which are achievements.
No. The natural response is, weird flex, but okay. It operates as a societal check, acknowledging the effort to boost self-esteem while gently pointing out the misdirected effort. It perfectly captures that balance of observational judgment and ironic acceptance. We have completed a massive tour of the modern lexicon, going from the social competence of Rizz to the psychological defenses of being delulu, all the way through to the ultimate full stop of period.
I think we understood the assignment for today.
I think we did.
What becomes crystal clear as we synthesize all this material is that this vocabulary is driven by more than just the need for efficiency. While speed through shortened forms, acronyms, emojis is a central factor, these terms also function as powerful tools for establishing community boundaries.
Using irony as a critical defense mechanism.
And negotiating trust in a highly skeptical, hyper-recorded environment.
So the knowledge gained here is fundamentally about cultural fluency. Slang provides an instantaneous entry point into a community. For you, the curious learner, the goal is not assimilation. The goal is to understand the language perfectly when you hear it, to decode the subtext and the irony.
We advise against trying to force every term into every conversation because that would sound inauthentic. The key is to simply understand the landscape, recognize the nuances of beige flags versus red flags, and maybe, just maybe, sprinkle one or two of these terms into your natural conversation when the moment truly calls for it.
Experimentation in a safe environment is key to feeling culturally current. And remember, don't be afraid to ask for clarification. People love explaining their slang because it makes them feel like a cultural expert, allowing them to share the implicit rules of their language.
Right. And while we acknowledge that local slang persists, the global convergence driven by social media platforms like TikTok means that this vocabulary provides a robust foundation for understanding modern conversations worldwide.
We've seen how heavily this lexicon relies on acronyms, short forms, and layers of irony. This prioritizes velocity and in-group understanding. So before we finish this deep dive, consider this provocative thought.
When language becomes this hyper-efficient, prioritizing speed and subtext above all else, what critical cultural value, or perhaps form of detailed human expression, do you believe is lost? And conversely, what new value is gained by this relentless push toward linguistic compression?
That's a deep question to consider as you navigate the conversations of your day. We hope you feel thoroughly equipped.
Go out there, confidently apply this new knowledge, and remember that you, the learner, definitively understood the assignment. Goodbye.